You got to get off of me? So you're telling me, and I really had to go to y'all about this. It says, you telling me that all this stuff I went through all my life, I didn't have to go through that. You tell me Satan held me for some umpteen years, and all he was required was 10 days? So I did this to myself, didn't I? I could have been free a long time ago if I had realized how limited the power of Satan really was. If I really knew that he only got enough juice for 10 days, I would have wore his head out for 10 days. But we don't think like that. Because Yah will never reveal to us the end result. He just wants us to go through the process. So we're going through all of this to find out one day, oh, this is what you were trying to get out of me. This is where I was going. This is why I struggle with this. It's because you were trying to make me better than I was before. So you caused my 10 days to be a few years so that I would get the message that Satan don't have any power at all. Hallelujah. That's what I went through all of that for, was to realize that I am a better person than I made myself out to believe. So yeah, I'm forgiven. I am not the same. I'm not who you think I am. You can call me whatever you want to. I enjoy it. Yes. But who I am is not who you think I am. And where I'm going, you just can't go with me. Because when I get to this next level, you can't go with me on this one. You can look at me and see, how did I get there? But you can't grab my coattail this time. You can't grab my hand this time, because I'm going to a place prepared for me, and where I'm going, you are not qualified to go. Because my level, your level of anointing, your level of power can't be held with just anybody. You can't go to places in different situations and levels, because some stuff we've been through, let's just be honest, would have killed an ordinary person. We would have lost our everlasting mind. We just lost everything about us, because we've gone through enough to drive a person crazy. But somehow we survived it. Hallelujah. Somehow we still alive and breathing. Somehow we still standing. I just don't understand, how are you still standing after all that you've been through, after all the times that you have cried and struggled? You're still standing up on your own 2 feet. I had a friend of mine look at me and say, how in the world did you get a house? And you were homeless. But I'm talking about homeless. I'm talking about pushing a cart. Just me and my wife, pushing a cart up Winchester Road, trying to find a place to lay our head, trying to find out a place, where can we get some food, who can help us? No place. I'm talking about in the rain, with just the clothes on our backs, and maybe just a few clothes that we were able to collect in a trash bag. And the saints driving by. How you doing?
Come on down. Come on down. That's how they do it.
Bless you. Because they got what they wanted. They saw what they needed to see. Just walking. And then some days in the dead of the heat, just didn't know where we were going to sleep. Didn't know. Had no idea. And trying to figure out, how did this happen? Where did I go wrong? What mistake did I make for this to happen? Never been homeless in my life. But here I am for 2 months, not 2 days, not 2 weeks. This is 2 months of nowhere to lay my head. Nowhere to send her. I couldn't even send her someplace to sleep. Just out there. We hung out at McDonald's. We had a couple dollars, and we got 1 chicken sandwich, split it in half, and 1 sweet tea. and drank it, you know, 'cause you can go to McDonald's and refill it. Refilled it. That was dinner. That was breakfast. That was lunch. That was a snack. I had a tablet. She had a cell phone. Used the Wi-Fi trying to find a job. Because the life I had was taken from me by a pastor. Remember I told you in some of them services, enemies showed up. They showed up. All that they had done. They looked at me and they saw me dancing. Trying to figure out how in the world did that happen. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, I don't know how. I got from over there. But my soul looks back and wonders.
Hey! Well, come on now.
How I made it over. In a horrible pit with no help, no money, no friends. Talking about folk who say they're my best friend. But I can't stay at your house. Talking about I got you no matter what, man. I'm with you, but you can't give me a ride. Talking about I was looking for you, man. No, you wasn't. My phone number has not changed. That was the only thing that was still on. Was my phone. You could have called, and then folk killing me. Why didn't you call me? Why should I have to call you? Are you that important that I got to call you? Why couldn't you call and checked on me? Why couldn't you have given me a hand? Because I'm out here. It's just me and my wife. My children were taken from me. That's why you don't see them today. No, they ain't with their mama. Oh. They were taken from that same pastor. And I was supposed to have lost my mind. I was supposed to have been out of my mind right now. I should be up here. I should not be preaching anything. I should have been in that crazy house that they sent her to. But instead, I started a church.
Hallelujah!
Instead, I read his word.
Hallelujah!
Instead, I followed him.
Hallelujah!
With my blindfold on, trying to figure out why am I out here in this wilderness and nobody there but me and my wife. But I followed him, blindfolded and everything. I said, I don't know, I don't understand it, y'all, but I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. You said to trust you. Before all this broke out, in the car that we used to have, I saw in the back seat, and it was funny, the children were in the car, we was riding. I think I had to go preach somewhere. And I saw this demon sitting in the back seat of my car, and it spoke to me and said, I'm the spirit of sabotage. And normally, I go after something like that. No, you're not about to act up. But for some reason, I just brushed it off. You see, because what is to be sabotaged? I didn't have much. So what is to be sabotaged? What is to be... So I brushed it off, went on to preach, and then maybe a few weeks later, everything blew up. The house was taken away from me. Car was taken away. The only memory I have of those children was I had to go preach a revival and they couldn't go with me. So what, you know how kids do, they chase the car. Love you, Daddy. That's all I got left of that memory of them. Every now and then, see them on Facebook, see what they're doing, they see what I'm doing. And, still going through a case.
Say that.
So I'm not out the woods yet, but I will be.
Amen.
Because Satan can only hold me for 10 days. And after that 10 days, get your hands off of me and give me back everything and more than what I had before, because you owe it to me. Because Satan is the one who tries to destroy everything we've worked so hard for. So, to continue this testimony, I had to go preach. Be it my wife. Now remember, nowhere to go. I had a suit that a real friend of mine gave me. And he was giving me rides, me and my wife. He was letting us stay in his house just out of nowhere. And his pastor, his former pastor at the time, said that a bishop is looking for you and wants you to come and preach. Now we homeless. I had just enough money, but it wasn't enough to go live anywhere. So they called me, and I went down there. No, that's not how it happened. I went down there to support a service. And the speaker didn't show up.
Yeah.
And he looked out in the audience and said, well, we see Apostle Griffin is here. We're going to have him give the word. And I preached and laid hands and prophesied, everybody in the floor, all this kind of stuff. And he looked at me and he said, give me a basket. And put this basket at the apostle's feet. And he stood there, and I mean, people just started tossing money in it. Now he didn't even take up a church offering. It was just a speaker's offering. And that little bit of money that they raised up was enough to get us off the street. It was enough for us to go and get us a little place to live. And a neighbor of ours, right across the street, we got off the street and moved to a house on Chestnut Street. And the neighbor across the street saw us. He was a friend of ours. He actually was looking for us because, you know, he likes to fix things. So he wanted to fix something for us. But when he went back to the house we had, we weren't there. So he didn't know what was going on. Didn't have my number. I didn't have his number. And then all of a sudden, we find it. We run into him. And he goes and he talks to his landlord. And he says, I'm going to talk to my landlord to get y'all in this house. I'm going to tell him you're a preacher. I'm going to tell him your wife's a preacher. He's real country. And he's a white man. And it was funny because y'all spoke to me and told me, he said, I will send you help from white people.
Well.
So I'm like, you know, okay. And then all of a sudden, all these Caucasian people kept looking at me, smiling.
Yeah.
Putting money in my hand.
Yeah.
And then this one, he gave us the house. We moved into that little house, and you know, it wasn't all that, but it was a palace to us. We coming off the street. We glad to have a cardboard box at this point. We decorated that place because he was giving us furniture. We didn't have much for furniture, no curtains, nothing. We just moved in there.
Yes, so.
All we had actually was one mattress that we got out of the trash can.
Yep.
And we slept on that mattress, we cleaned it up, with bed bugs and all. We cleaned it all up. Whatever. We had that mattress, we took it with us into that house, and we slept on it. We were grateful for that mattress.
Hallelujah.
And then he gave us furniture, gave us a TV, gave us a carpet, gave us a microwave. And then she got approved for food stamps, so we were able to get food in the house. So we were able to, you know, and then all of a sudden, I got a job. So I went to that job and I worked that job, and we were able to get a car, not just any car, a Volvo. So we got into that Volvo and we drove that Volvo around till it broke down. I mean, we was not ever home. And then the Lord worked it out to where we were able to move out of that house. Because see, that house, it was only $400 a month. So we had gas, electric, water, and sewage. So it was still too expensive for us. So I'm looking, in the place where we bought the car also had property. And the property they had available, all we had to pay was rent. We didn't have any utilities at all.
All right now.
So we got out of that little house into that apartment, and we lived in that apartment, and we went to work, and we did all we could. And then I ran into this brother back here. And I was working at the Thornton's gas station.
Yes, you
And
were.
I'm working. He didn't know my story. All he knew was this is a man, you know, he comes see. He didn't even speak to me for a while. Just all of a sudden, just want to talk to him. He came in every morning because I worked the night shift. He came in. He would get his, I think he got a little Gatorade or something and a snack. And he went on about his way. Never said nothing to me. And then one day, he stopped by and he asked me a question. Because, you know, he noticed I had this little apostle ring on. He's like, what kind of ring is that? I said, it's an apostle's ring. He said, oh, what religion or what belief are you? I said, I'm a Hebrew. And he said, well, shalom. And then after that, we talked, and we exchanged phone numbers. And he said, how about you keep atonement with us? So we went to his parents' house for the atonement, and I met those two over there. Just sitting here in front of my face, y'all was building the church.
Yes.
So I'm watching all this going on. I meet them and I talk to them, and it's funny that she had on the same dress. Isn't it wonderful? They had on the same dress and everything. And they had these two babies with them, and we talked about the atonement. Got so much into the atonement to where his mother was asking questions. Like, wait a minute. So how does this work and all this stuff? And we talked and talked and talked. And I said, well, I did have a service coming up because my wife and I had made up in our mind that Lexington wasn't where we supposed to be. So we finna move out of Lexington. We ain't finna start no church. We just going out. But when they came into our life, we said, we're gonna get us one more shot.
One more.
But see, it was supposed to be a trial, just a practice shot. If it didn't work, we done. We know we ain't supposed to be here. If it works, we'll stick around. So they came for the service, and she preached. It was a Love Thy Neighbor service. We had a clothing drive and everything in the same building we're in now. And like I said, I only expected to see 3 people. And then all these people came to support us. And then, you know how you do, give the invitation, anybody want to join and all this kind of stuff, you know, just to do it, because, you know, I really didn't believe nobody was coming. And nobody said anything. Nobody said a word. So, okay, so we had another service, and this was a deliverance service. And I ended up preaching it. And I preached, and I preached, and I hollered, and screamed, and all this stuff. I really do a whole lot of hollering. I just want to testify that. They came by again for the service. And for some reason, this man back here stood up and said, thank you, talking to the pastor who let us use the place. Thank you for letting us use this place. I said, us? You let me use the place. Oh, who's us? And he said, we really want to thank you. And he said, because we now have a place to keep the Sabbath.
Wow. That's all right.
And they kept coming by.
They kept coming.
I said, well, look here. I said, well, we got a few members. Isn't that wonderful? And then we stayed there for a while. Didn't have no musicians. You know, he was doing something else in his ministry. And just Josiah wasn't even here yet. We sent Josiah back to his family in Washington to keep him away from the mess that was going on with my children. So he was up there, so it really was just me and my wife. So we having these services, and we preaching, and like I said, we wasn't doing no dancing because they still trying to fill us out. We here, well, you know, we just here. So they had service, we had service. And I began to have Sabbath school. We had service after that, and then they kept saying, we're going to invite more people. We're going to find more people to come to this place. And it was fun. They invited people and they came, but these people didn't stay. So they kept coming. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my wife, we were looking around because we wanted to move out of that little apartment. We can't take it no more. It's a blessing. We got to go. It was a 1-bedroom apartment. He finally moved down here with us because we found out that he was allowed to be here. So he came and he stayed in that one room. It was all 3 of us piled up in that room. I said, this boy needs his own room. We need a house. And we called a bunch of people, went to go look at a bunch of houses. No, we had no money. But we looked anyway. faith come by hearing.
Yes.
Hearing by the word of God. So we heard the word and we went and looked. We looked, we saw this beautiful house. This house was just everything we needed, we wanted. I was like, oh, we want this house. But we couldn't get approved for that. I had no bad credit, so I'm like, well, okay. So this man, while we were getting stuff ready for that house, this man named Mr. Faulkner,
That's right.
I'm calling his name out because this man has been a blessing. And he's a Caucasian man. And he looked at me, he came walking to the car, that same little old Volvo. He looked at us, he said, I hear you looking for a house. I said, yeah. I said, well, we found one. We're going, okay. But he said, just come and take a look at it anyway. All right, so we went and looked at it just to see, We went and saw the house. We did not like that house.
No.
The house was broken up, tore up into pieces. It's just like, what is this? Who is this guy? He tried to give us a broken house for. So we said, thank you for showing it to us. We'll be in contact. When people say that, they really don't mean it. We be calling you and all this stuff. He said, okay. So throughout that time, we trying to get in this other house and just could not get in it. Had the money to move in it, and still, they were like, no, just can't give it to you. She said, okay. And then something leaped in my spirit, said, call Mr. Faulkner. So we called him, and he said, come over by the house. I'm over here at the house, and we had bought a new car by that time. And we drove over there, looked at the house. It's a little different, it's kind of fixed up. And he said, I want to give you a choice. He said, you can either rent this house or you can buy it. So I'm like, buying it sounds pretty tempting right about now. At least it'll be ours and we don't have to go nowhere.
Right.
So we talked to him and we said, okay, we'll take it because we really need to get out of here. This boy needs a room. So when we got into that house, he told us that if you sign this contract right here, you're now paying a mortgage, and you won't be paying rent. I said, what? He said, this is your house. He said, whatever you want to do to it, you can. So my wife, she's like, well, she wanted her kitchen to be yellow. She wanted like a summer theme. So before we moved in that house, we came back to look at it. The kitchen was yellow. Okay. So we said, okay, well, here's the money for the house. Kind of reluctant to give it to him. But this is like too good to be true here. We give him the money. He says, all right, sign this. And he left us alone with our house. And to this day,